It's October, and that means another episode of the Muelendez Monthly Sport Spectrum. So let's get into it because we got Canes football, we got the NFL, we got MLB playoff, we got the WNBA finals. I mean, we still got Canes football, we got the Prem. So
There's too
we got
much to talk about.
we got things to talk about. So let's start first. Honestly, I'll open it up to you, Mike. You want to start with Canes football? Crazy game. Or you want to
Yeah.
start with the NFL?
I say we should go with Canes football because I got a lot to say about Canes football.
Boom. All right. So, I mean, it was a game that I don't know on Louisville's side. I would imagine the feeling among most Louisville fans was that they were capable of beating Miami. I think they thought that, when they were ranked earlier. Um, I think they thought that after they saw, the Virginia Tech game. I think they probably were like, Miami escaped with that one. They got away with one. Same thing against Cal, and I think in the lead up to this game, a lot of Louisville fans were probably thinking, hey, you know what? Even the team, hey, you know what? This team's, they're winning, but they're kind of on a skid. They're not playing well. They're allowing a lot of points. They're kind of, as we say, like they're kind of really eking out a win, like just barely getting over the finish line there. And it was crazy to hear Jordan Rogers on ESPN, the analyst, um, talk about kind of really a little bit after, no, rather right before halftime. He goes, "I get the feeling this game is about to become absolute madness." And I kind of thought, what is this guy talking about? Like, it's it's still it's still there, kind of in the second quarter, and I'm thinking, it's not gonna get that wild, and all of a sudden, score, 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 interception, fumble, this and that, overturned plays. I mean, the game went nuts. But overall, Mike, your impressions from both on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball, what did you think?
Um, I thought it was a great first half on both sides. A little bit of inconsistencies here and there, but one thing I noticed a lot more was that they were starting the corners and the defensive backs were starting to cover their receivers on the line of scrimmage a lot more. And I cannot tell you how much it aggravates me. And when I see that these guys are playing 5, 6, 7 yards off the line of scrimmage, because then it allows the receiver to run a quick little 1, 2, 3 yard step and just either take a slot route right over the middle, or you can stop, do a curl, and then the receiver will, or the defensive back will just come at you, and you could just make one quick little move and you're off running 10, 15 extra yards down the field. I thought the offense looked good. Damian Martinez looked like the beast that he was at
My goodness.
Oregon State the last couple of years. Cam Ward is really putting a strong case together for the Heisman Trophy. I think it's a two-man race right now between him and Ashton Jeanty at
Just to
Boise
stop
State.
that here, so you understand how insane this is. At the beginning of one of my classes for sports admin, it's like a Heisman campaign project.
Mm-hmm.
And my group, we all kind of looked at each other and said, you know what? We're going to believe in our own guy. We're going to believe in Cam Ward. Cam Ward's going to be our candidate. That's who we're picking. And people were kind of like, no way. It's going to be Chiron Drones. It's going to be, whoever. And we were all kind of like, we believed. I know. I know. It's crazy what people say at UM. But I just had to stop and say that because we have maybe the easiest project that we could possibly have for Heisman. I mean, for me, right now, I get it that some people don't think he's the guy, but for me, just watching week in, week out, because I don't watch a lot of college football outside of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, but you get to watch him up close and what he does. I mean, dude is phenomenal. So I just need to say that.
Yeah, he is. And shout out to Dr. Taiwan Martin. I took that class too for sport admin for my minor. I did my Heisman campaign project on Sam Hartman, the Notre Dame quarterback, former Wake Forest Notre Dame quarterback, who is third string in Washington right now behind Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. Um, Yeah, no, Cam Ward is just so relaxed and poised in the pocket. He doesn't look like a college senior. He looks like a 5, 7 year NFL veteran with his presence in the pocket. I mean, he did get sacked a couple of times, but I mean, the offensive line just kind of gave up the blocks. I mean, I don't know if that's because they thought he released the ball or he took off out of the pocket, maybe. But on the plays where they didn't give up on the blocking, Cam Ward is just sitting back there. He's got 3, 4 seconds to throw the ball, and whenever he does, he normally always finds the open receiver. The good thing I liked about Cam Ward today is that, or not today, yesterday, as of the time of this recording, is that he didn't turn the football over. He made smart and accurate and conservative decisions with the football, and that's what I really liked. And I feel like if he's
Yeah.
able to do that consistently, especially with the Florida State game coming up on Saturday at Hard Rock, which is going to be an electric,
Are you
electric
going? Are
atmosphere.
you going?
Bro, what kind of a question is that? Of
Are you
course I'm
going?
going. Of
Oh
course I'm
yeah, Mike
going.
Muella. I will see you. I somehow hope that the student section can also become an ex-student section. We'll get you in somehow. We'll get you in
Oh no,
somehow.
my buddy already got me a ticket for the student section. I'm
Woo,
sitting with them.
woo.
I'm coming
I will
home,
see
baby.
you
I'm
there,
coming
Mike.
home.
I will
I'm
see you
coming
there,
home.
Mike.
Yes, you will.
I
Yes,
don't
you
know if
will.
this episode will be out before the game, but I will see you there. Um, because yeah, I mean it's a must go. It's a must go for me. Like, sure, trust me, it's there's so many things, and my problem with being in Miami now is that there's so many things going on, and I want to go
Hmm.
here, I want to go there, I want to do this, I want to do that, but if there's one thing that I'd heard about before coming to Miami, everyone, dude, Miami football versus FSU, dude, Miami football
Hmm.
versus FSU,
Yes.
but borderline top five program in the country. I mean, we'll see with the new poll. Um, and to not go to that game, can't. Free tickets. I mean, we're already paying for it. Realistically, it's intuition. So it's
Yeah.
like gotta go. But
Yeah.
I do want to say one last thing on Cam Ward before we move on
Hmm.
to the defense. Um, I was just, and I mean, I was texting you during the game
Hmm.
that that near inter what was it? It wasn't a fumble call, was it? No, it was a fumble call originally. That's
Yeah,
what they.
the one where it got knocked out of his
Yep.
hand as it was
And
coming forward.
they
Yeah, that was they called it a
yeah,
fumble.
they called it a fumble, and obviously watching the replay, like it was weird because he went back, he was here, and then he kind of got hit here, but to me it was still clear, that
I mean, you could see that his arm is making the forward motion,
of
and the
course,
ball's
absolutely,
just coming
absolutely.
out as he's making that
Yep.
first forward motion. So like for me, like being on the sideline for my high school football team, I kind of have like an up close like kind of account of kind of like what it was like, kind of like seeing live action plays like that. And so like if your guy is here and like you could tell like even if the arm's just coming forward like this and the ball
Yeah, you
gets
can
knocked
tell his
out,
intent. It's not like he gets the football and he goes here and he still hasn't kind of sort of cocked back. Even if he's like in that motion at that point where he's
right?
like cocking back, the next thing that's coming is he's going forward, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but I mean, this one was pretty clear because when he got hit, like his arm was already starting to come forward. So, good call by the refs there. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
I'm still personally the undefeated is a little tainted for me because I still think
Hmm.
it's borderline a touchdown versus Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Again, that's how I saw it. We're not going to get into that. That's a whole
Hmm.
conversation that we'll never get a sort of clear resolution on. But what I do want to touch on is the defense because
Hmm.
through week four, I mean, you looked at, of course, the first couple opening games when you have FAMU and you have your Ball States, like teams that you're not letting score on you, and then limiting, of
Hmm.
course, Florida like they did in the swamp. I mean, it doesn't get more big time than that, especially to start a season, right? But what I
Yeah.
do want to touch on is, you're giving up 15, 17 points. You get to week five, you play Virginia Tech on a Friday night, you give up 34 points. Then you go on to week six, you travel to California, you're down 38-10. I mean, insane comeback, but nonetheless, you still gave up 38 points. And then again against why did I just blank? Louisville.
Louisville.
Uh, you know, you once again give up the biggest spot that you've given up yet, 45 points. Of course, I think Miami was a little bit more in control of that game than they were um versus both Cal and VT, just because those games came down to the very very end. But I just want to get your take on what do you really think is going on with this defense? Because I thought it was gonna that unit was gonna perform a little bit better, but as of late, they've kind of turned it into, hey Cam Ward, how many points can you put on the board? Because we're gonna give up a good deal. So like I hope we're scoring 35 plus.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is the secondary. I mean, they haven't had Damari Brown in any of the games that they've played. I mean, Ruben Bain was out, the first 5 games. He didn't come back until the California game. Damari Brown, we still don't know what his timetable for return is, according to Coach Cristobal. Um, I think the defensive line and the linebackers are doing an excellent job. They're getting the pressure on the quarterback. Not as effective as I would like to see it. I think you should be rushing for every single play. I think you rush all your defensive linemen, your nose tackles, your edge rushers, and even on some plays when you're blitzing, rush that inside linebacker. Have the other two backers, your outside and your edge backer, just drop out in the coverage, cover the flat routes. Don't let anything get behind you. And then I think the big struggles are the safeties and the corners because you're letting these guys get 5 yards of separation before the play even begins. And that's an easy guaranteed 3 or 4 yards, depending on what the play call is and what the route is. So, like if it's a short little route and you're playing 5 yards off the ball, you're giving them basically a free chunk play. And if it's a go route, you're basically backing up, and then the receiver can just quickly bait you on a little, like he's gonna do a curl route, and then you rush, and then he's 5 yards behind you, going the other way for a touchdown, and it's ridiculous at this point. So I don't know what's going on. I think Lance Guidry and the entire defensive staff need to get with the players and say, okay, this is what we need to do, especially against a in-state rival and ACC opponent at our house, prime time under the lights. We were beating our opponents by an average of 42 points a game through the first 4 games. Last 3 games, we've been beating them by an average of, let's see, 2-2 is, or 1-1 is 2, and or no, 2-1 is 3, and now 7 is what, 10. So 10 divided by 3, it's like 3.5 points a game. You're not going to be able to win or keep winning consistently if you're only winning by 3.5 points a game. It's just not going to work in the ACC, especially when you have teams like your Clemson, your Pitt, who's now looking like a really good football team because they're
Crazy, huh?
also undefeated. You're not going to be able to win with your NC States, your Dukes, who also look really good, especially after that Florida State game that they just beat FSU for the first time in program history. And who would have thought it would have been Manny Diaz that led Duke to that first FSU win? Um, but yeah, I think as long as the defense kind of like settles down and limits the big play, I'm okay with like a little 2 to 3 yard game. That's fine. It's the 4 yarders, the fives, the 7, the 8 yard plays that gets on my nerves. So I really think that if Miami can kind of buckle down and limit the chunk and the big plays, I think Miami is going to beat Florida State by 40.
Wow. Well, Mike, I'm gonna tell you, Miami beats Florida State by 40, as you say. Um, I can only pray for Sunday night because that is gonna be quite a party to avoid before my game on Sunday night. Before I got a game to call at noon for Canes women's soccer. Um, so that's gonna be pretty insane if that's how it ends up. I mean, um, can't wait. I can't wait. But
Yeah,
I do
it's
want to
going to
move
be
on,
fun.
stay on football. and move on to the NFL. It was sort of a what I felt like was a bit of an underrated game. Um, didn't care about the London games. I mean, Jaguars, Pats. Oh, you would have had to pay me to watch that. Um,
I'm just happy the Patriots lost.
I really don't care anymore. It's just so bad. So are the Jaguars. I don't care. I mean, uh,
Yeah, Jaguars are mid. Doug Peterson will get fired
I'm
after
glad the
this season.
Texans lost. There's some people I root against in the NFL. One of them is Stephon Diggs. The other one's Aaron Rodgers. Both of them. Uh,
Rodgers.
and there were some conference matchups there that are rather divisional matchups there. The Eagles Giants game wasn't even close. Wasn't really expecting it, but really good game on the Lions Vikings.
Excellent game.
Bengals Browns was good as well. The Dolphins. Uh, let's start there because before we get into, of course, Seahawks dub, which we don't really need to touch on. That's all there is to it. Um, and before we touch on the Jets Steelers and sort of some of the funny stuff that's gone on there, um, we got to talk about Tua's sort of, you know, looming return, if you will. And that's exactly the face that I make. I just, I sort of look to the heavens and just hope that, whatever higher power he believes in, uh, will be accompanying him throughout his journey back onto the field because I am terrified for that man. I am terrified. Um, I really, really, I just hope. I don't care how the Dolphins do. No offense.
None taken.
I really just want Tua not to die, not to get, have something serious. I don't want to see another DeMar Hamlin incident.
Mm,
Um, I just I don't want it to end up being one of those things that we look at as we had all the science, we kind of societally, like in football and general society, made the
mhm,
wrong decision. We didn't encourage him to retire enough, and because we didn't do that, it led to something much, much worse. That's really what I want to avoid. I hope it doesn't become that situation, but I just have a bad feeling about it. But as a our resident Dolphins fan here on Muelendez Monthly, what what are your feelings on it? How do you feel about Tua or what's left of him coming back, onto a football field?
at this point, not going to be our resident Dolphin fan for much longer. I may be transitioning to a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. It's a Florida team. I'm Central Floridian resident now, so they're the local team up here.
Traitor.
So
You're a traitor.
I know I'm.
You're a,
Boy,
you're
quit that
abandoning
traitor
your
talk.
team.
Boy, shut your
You're from
mouth. I ain't
PP. You're a PP
of
man.
Ayo, Ayo.
You are a Pembroke Pines born and bred Mike Muella. I don't
Of
want to hear anything
course.
about abandoning your Dolphins. Pembroke Pines is
Um,
basically where Hard Rock is. I mean, it's closer than the rest of Miami.
whoa. Pembroke Pines and Miami Gardens are two completely different places, bro.
You really want me to bring up the exact of how far it is, Mike.
It's like 35 minutes, bro. I've made the drive several times.
It's 7 miles. 7 miles. And I don't know, were you up by like the ranches or by like Cooper City? Where were you?
Bro, I was off of Sheridan Street, so I was like right in like the I was in West Pembroke Pines.
Maybe that's why. Cause yeah, like downtown, kind of like right north of Miramar. Like, dude, that's like under a 20-minute drive. Like, that's honestly like when people talk about it, people are so confused. They ask me all the time, like, dude, why does UM doesn't have their own stadium on campus? I was like, nope. I was like, if you've never been to our campus, you wouldn't understand why. But like, that's why I'm saying that Pembroke Pines is really more Miami Dolphins territory than Coral Gables or like kind of
No, Coral
downtown
Gables is
Miami.
UM territory.
Like that's not at all Dolphin territory. But anyway, continue, please.
Anyway, yeah. Uh, I mean, all signs are pointing towards, Tua making his return to practice on Wednesday. That would be the first day he's eligible to return. And it does loom large, especially because the Dolphins have a home game against the Cardinals next Sunday. Um, it would be his first game back. That would be his first game eligible to return because he's currently on IR. But today was the last game that he had to miss due to IR. If he does return, I mean, he should probably wear the Guardian cap, as stupid as it looks. I mean, Devon Achan just wore it today because he
If
just
he
came
doesn't
back
wear
from,
it, he's an idiot. And the Dolphins are
yeah,
a terrible organization, and everyone in the situation just doesn't deserve any sympathy whatsoever. Because, I
no,
mean,
we've been a terrible organization. We've been a terrible organization
it would just
ever
be it,
since
it would be it
Marino.
would be so incredibly just unthoughtful and unprotective because it's like you have your franchise player coming back. The thing you do by just throwing him out there is if everything was fine and he wasn't put on IR and you know, this wasn't, a whole big situation or whatever. He just had another
Mhm.
concussion. He's had them before, whatever. If they decide to not do anything different this time around, I mean, the NFL won't do anything because I'm very against Roger Goodell and
Yeah, no, he's
and and
horrible.
and just the policies he's instituted and the things he's let players get away with. Like, there's no real
Hmm.
accountability in the league for players. But then we talk about like, you know, like you said, he has to wear some protective. It's not the Guardian cap, like extra padding in his helmet itself and the Guardian. I
Yeah,
don't know. Like bubble wrap that man's head, like insulated. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to protect QB1, your franchise player. Like
yeah.
if it's all about like generational wealth and setting his family up and helping him out in that way. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, as stupid as I think the Guardian cap looks, like it just doesn't look natural. I mean, it's for his own benefit, you know. I mean, we've mentioned it before, we'll mention it again. He has a family to think about, you know, his wife, his two children. And yeah, I get it. He just got paid a 53 year uh $53 million a year extension at 200 million dollars, which I think is
Breaking news:
way overpaid.
Tua plays into his 70s.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, again, it's all on him, and it's all on the entire Dolphins medical staff, you know. If he wants to play, then he wants to play. But I mean, he's definitely got to seriously consider, you know, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point, just because it's been such a difficult situation, you know, getting concussed 4 times in the last 3 seasons, including this year. And then having multiple injuries at Alabama, including a concussion and that devastating hip injury, which we thought he was never going to play again after that, ends up clearing all his medical, all his physicals, and gets picked fifth overall by the Dolphins, which I will never forgive Stephen Ross and Chris Greer for drafting Tua over Justin Herbert. I will never forgive that. Because I'll be honest, if we had Justin Herbert, we probably would have had an AFC championship by now. At least one. Um, I mean, and with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Justin Herbert's throwing for 6,000 yards and 50 touchdowns at least. Um, yeah, I mean, Tua does, like, on paper make the team better, and like we've seen in the past, we saw it last year,
Not
obviously.
even about paper anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's not even about paper anymore because this is real life, you know. I mean, injuries happen, but concussions are probably the worst of them because that affects your physical ability, it affects your mental ability, it affects your ability to communicate, to think, the way you act, the way your body functions,
Yeah, man.
and especially for him being a quarterback in the National Football League, I don't know. I mean,
To
if he
close it out,
plays, if he plays,
to
he plays.
to close it out, yeah. I mean, if he wants to play, if somehow they say, hey, you know what, you're good to play, he's gonna play. I think it's a horrible decision. I don't think he should be allowed to touch a football field again. Again, that's my personal, based on my personal knowledge of concussions and such, and just the nature of his. But anyway, let's take a little bit of these kind of sort of last 5 minutes that we got, and let's just talk about what happened with the Steelers, and George Pickens was getting interviewed, and they were asking kind of, the whispers started, hey, Russell Wilson's getting first team reps and this and that. And George Pickens was kind of going through his answers like, no, it feels good. Me and him have a good connection, this and that. He's just getting more reps, because this week is his first start. And every reporter that was sort of there in the locker room interview and said, whoa, there you go. I mean, obviously players know things ahead of time, and that's why I've always said like um any coach who tells you like they don't have already like predetermined plans of who they want to play or not, they're lying. They're lying because
Hmm.
want to put in certain players to see how they're going to work, and obviously that was predetermined, earlier in the week. Hey, Russ, you're starting this week. Um, but I just want to see what you think about. Oh, backwards. We're going
Yep.
backwards.
Yep.
Um, backwards hat Mike. Let's see how the switch of the thinking cap affects what you think of no more Justin Fields, 4-2 so far. I mean, is this the time for the switch?
I don't think so. I think you should have stuck with Justin Fields, in my personal opinion. I mean, we were just talking about this before we started this recording. It's not about the stats, you know. Yeah, sure, he doesn't have like all the flashy numbers this season. Like he doesn't have the 20 touchdowns. He doesn't have the 1,500 yards. But he
I'm sorry,
has
look at
the
this
all right, what's that? Okay, that's our
matchup
matchup
predictor.
predictor.
Look at how close that is.
Holy cow, look at that.
Bro, that looks
Um,
like election night, bro. Those are like election margins right there. That's nuts. I don't think I've seen a game that close because the Jets are actually favored,
mhm.
believe it or not. Minus 2.5. But for that, ESPN analytics to be calling it that close is kind of crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, as we kind of have just about 2.5 minutes left, it's not about the flashy stats. Like it's about winning games, and Justin Fields has been doing just that. You know, the Steelers were 3-0, and they're 4-2 through the first 6 games. And he's been able to make the right plays. Yeah, he's thrown a couple of unforced error interceptions, but some of them aren't even his fault. But you know, he's made the right decisions. He's gotten you in ball games. He's kept you in ball games, and he's helped you win 4 of them. And all of a sudden, now at this point in the season, to turn to Russell Wilson, who number one is coming off of an injury, and number two hasn't even played a snap this season. I just think it's too risky. I think you're taking away from Justin Fields' confidence and his ability to kind of believe in himself and say that I know that I can win games as a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I sum it up. Um, Obviously I'm biased because I'm a Seahawks fan, and just like there's players I root against in the NFL, wherever Russell Wilson goes, much as it hurts not to see him in Seahawks uniform anymore, throwing to DK and Tyler Lockett and Smith Najigba. I mean, I always wish him the best wherever he goes, and I'm excited to see him shortly as what we'll get into on second half of the show. WNBA finals going the distance. The New York Liberty, Minnesota Lynx. I mean, we've seen some crazy buzzer beaters by Sabrina Ionescu, and it all ends tonight. So we'll get into that on the other side of the show.
Can't wait.
And second half of the October episode for the Muelendez Monthly Sports Spectrum. And it's brought to you by the El Maestro Travel Team, always making sure that you are accommodated and that your travel plans go smoothly without a hitch. From getting yourself transported to the airport, navigating through security, making sure all of your boarding processes are in place and ready to go, the El Maestro Travel Team ensures that you will have a smooth and safe flight experience, or however you may be traveling by boat, train, or however else you'd like to travel. The El Maestro Travel Team always makes sure that I'm at my best, so when I get to my destination, I'm ready to do whatever it is that I'm doing. let's get into a little bit of a. I'll ask you a question, Mike. Now that we talked about Kane's football and the NFL,
All right.
let's.
Feel like I'm back on Sports Desk now with the trivia questions.
There you go, dude. The kickers have been crazy. Some of the
Oh
questions
my gosh.
I forget who it was. Someone asked. I don't know. I don't know. Really wanted to ask this girl out or ask this girl. I don't know.
Oh
And the
boy.
question was, will Wrigley get a second date live on the air? And everyone was like, no. I was like, damn, bro.
Oh man, Wrigley's the best though. Shout out to Wrigley.
Shout out Wrigley. But let's
All right.
shout out some what do you think the best entrance in college football is? And let me give you the options.
Okay.
Howard, Kanye West, Texas A&M,
All right. I
Mr.
do know that one.
Brightside, both Michigan,
Hmm.
um, or Mizzou. Um,
Okay. I more associate that with one with Michigan, so I'll say
yeah,
Michigan
yeah,
for that one.
yeah, yeah. Mo Bamba that I believe Penn State uses that now.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
And then oh, why am I forgetting who uses Sandstorm?
South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina, Wisconsin's Jump Around, or
That one's iconic.
Virginia Tech's Enter Sandman.
I mean, I would have to say the most soul riveting, kind of like energizing one, I would say is Enter Sandman. But I would have to say the one that kind of sparks the most enjoyment and the most like fun activity, I would say is the jump around. But if we're talking about in terms of entrances, I'm gonna have to pick Lane Stadium as like probably the most like exciting entrance. But the most iconic entrance is the always going to be the University of Miami running out of the smoke because everybody stole that from us. Everybody who's doing the running out of the smoke now, they got that crap from us back in the 80s and the 70s because we were doing it before anybody. We were doing all the dancing, all the celebrations, the touchdowns, stuff like that. We invented swagger. We invented hype. We invented cool because everybody, it all started at the U, baby. So, but I would say most exciting entrance in college football is Enter Sandman Lane Stadium at Virginia Tech. But most iconic is the U running out of the smoke from the tunnel.
Boom.
But you gave me a bunch of good options, though. You did
Oh,
give me a bunch of good options, so fair
just
play to you.
just trying to give, the max amount so it's not kind of picking between two or three or
Yeah, sure.
arbitrary. But speaking of picking between two, Minnesota Lynx and New York Liberty, game five, WNBA finals, gonna tip off any second now at the time of this recording. Who you got? What have you seen? What have you liked? Sports Illustrated was saying just yesterday, there's just no predicting how the WNBA finals will end. And I agree with them. I have no idea. I mean,
Hmm.
I think a lot more people have gotten into watching the WNBA. I think we'll have historic viewing numbers as we've seen all season. Um, but what do you think? What do you think about who might bring home the chip?
No, I mean, it's so tough just because it's been so back and forth, but that's what I love about it because there hasn't been a clear winner. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, and the New York Liberty to win the WNBA Finals.
Boom. Yeah, I mean, we will see. I really do think it's gonna be pretty much as close as you can get. I
I
mean,
think it's gonna be a one possession game. It'll be probably within a point to 3 points. I think that's how close it's gonna be.
yeah, I mean, just I think for me it's a duo of Nafisa Collier and
Hmm.
Kayla McBride. For the Lynx, that kind of, they've really played, Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, a little guard forward duo. They've matched it. And that's why we've seen as close of a series as we have that ends up going the distance. But just wanted to quickly touch on that because, we got one
Hmm.
game left, but it's been one heck of a series, one heck of a time for women's basketball and women's sports in
Oh yeah.
general.
Oh yeah.
a bunch of people. I told a bunch of people that I was taking a nap, and they're like, "Yo, are you up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not." I said I didn't say I was going to sleep. I said I was taking a nap. So yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the mid-afternoon naps. Those hit.
Oh no,
Those hit.
I slept. I slept 3 hours. Not because I was out and about, but because I was visiting some old work friends. At a
Mhm.
midnight show. So you know, that went long, and then I was back in the morning, just a couple hours later. So I didn't sleep very much, but I needed that.
Oof.
But I feel pretty rejuvenated right now, talking. So
There you go.
let's move on to the MLB playoffs. And before we say anything, let me just say, Soto la saca, la saca, la saca. I mean,
Se fue la pelota. Se
se
fue la
fue,
pelota.
se fue. I mean, if I called it just as a complete joke, I was like, the script is written, Soto home run right here. I have multiple witnesses that can corroborate this. It was as a joke, and I was like, it's so weird when you see Juan Soto since he gets just so he doesn't get too on top of the baseball. You never see him like really grounding out, and if you do, it's a really hard ground out. But just I mean, the guy elevates. I mean, elevado, grande liga, obligado. He was just always obligated to be a star, and when the lights shine the brightest, Juan Soto has delivered. I mean, we saw it just as, a 20-year old in the World Series, winning it with the Nats. I mean, dude was insane, hitting tanks off Verlander. I mean, the kid is unreal. It hurts me so much that San Diego Padres didn't invest in him more. Uh, but that's how it goes. But I do, los mejores fanáticos están en Nueva York. The best
Mhm.
fans are in New York, and
Yeah.
they're gonna go nuts. That World Series is gonna be crazy, whether it's a Subway Series and the Mets come back, or we get an LA Yankees that everybody really has been waiting for to see that, the two historic MLB franchises just going at it cross country um series. It's going to be spectacular. But how do you see both the Yankees odds? Do you think that your World Series champs regardless of who they face out of the NL? And then what do you think of the remainder of the Dodgers Mets series?
Yeah, well, we do have game 6 that's going on tonight in Dodger Stadium. I I just think the Yankees are too good right now. I don't know who's going to slow them down, and I just don't know how you're going to get any hard contact. I mean, the only people I can think of in that Dodger lineup that would get hard contact off of the Yankee starting pitchers like Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole would probably be 1, 2, and 4 in their lineup, which would be Otani, Betts, and Freeman, wherever they are in the order, whether it's 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, no sé qué cosa, wherever they put them. Um, I mean, I think this was a lot of people's World Series predictions at the start of the season. Yankees, Dodgers, and this was before all the trade
I
acquisitions.
said
This
Padres, Yankees.
I mean, hey, you were close. You were close. But I mean, I think this was a lot of people's predictions at the beginning of the season, and this is months before the trade deadline in July. This is before the Dodgers get Jack Flaherty. This is before the Yankees get Jazz Chisholm. And I mean, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are playing like two MVP candidates right now. Shout out to Giancarlo, former Marlin. Getting his ALCS MVP trophy, well deserved. Shout out to both him and Jazz for being former Marlins that are going to get to play in the World Series now. Yeah, I just don't think the Dodgers starting pitching is going to be able to hold up against the Yankee bats. I mean, if we look at it, have I think the Yankees have the advantage going into the series. No matter who they play against, I think they have a better offensive lineup. I think they have a better, well-rounded team. And regardless, I think the Yankees are going to win the World Series. I mean, they had a ton of momentum coming into the playoffs from the regular season. And I kind of had a feeling that if they got past the divisional round, that they were going to win the World Series, no matter who they were playing, whether it was Detroit or Houston or Cleveland. because it could have been any three of those teams that they would have been playing in the ALCS. Um, but they took out the Guardians in 5 games, and now they're going to win the World Series. If it's the Mets that they play, it'll be a sweep, I believe. But if they play the Dodgers, I think it goes at least 6.
Look at that. I mean, just closing thoughts for me. I don't like Aaron Judge. Um, and not a big Giancarlo Stanton fan. I don't know. They're very entertaining to watch, don't get me wrong, but just because they're not on my team, you know, I cannot believe that the Bronx Bombers are just because I don't even really think their pitching is all that special. I think the Dodgers actually have better pitching, and that's what might make
Mm-hmm.
it a little difficult for the Yankees because they're gonna face some good pitching. I mean,
Yep.
but like the Soto Shuffle song released by El Alfa, the biggest Dominican artist,
Yeah.
says, when Soto's at bat, nobody can pitch to him. I mean,
Right.
between the shuffle, getting in pitcher's head, I mean, legend one of one, El 22.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as I'm choking up on a little bit of yeah, my drink there, but yeah, I mean, que viva New York. Um, I cannot see the Dodgers win a World Series. I can't do it. And
No.
I hate the Mets. I just hate the Mets. When I went for the Padres Mets series, I didn't like Queens. I didn't like, well, I don't want to say all of Queens. I didn't go to all of Queens, but that
Mm-hmm.
particular part of Queens where the city is, Willits, where the city is, stadium is, yeah,
Yeah, City
don't like
Field.
it. So no. Not rooting for the Mets, definitely not rooting for the Dodgers. Go Yanks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, I am gonna lose a bet big time, big time, big time, big time with a bunch of Dominicans from my time in New York that told me Juan Soto is getting paid. That dude is the real
Oh,
deal.
clearly. Oh,
And
he's
I
gonna get
said, and
paid.
I told them, no, he's an idiot. He's never gonna get 500 million. There's no way. That's what I said. I was pretty convinced.
Oh, you're an
Um,
idiot. You're an
yeah,
idiot. I'm sorry.
yeah. There you go. You can't get them all right, you know? So, but I always own up to my bet. Like I want everybody to own up to theirs. So, um,
As long as you take accountability, that's what
some
matters.
payments will be getting dished out for Miami back to New York because I honestly think regardless of if the Yankees win the World Series or not, Juan Soto's getting that bread. I mean,
Oh yeah, he'll get paid.
so
Absolutely.
nuts. But anyway, I just want to quickly touch on something that we haven't really talked about a lot. Actually, haven't talked on yet on Melendez Monthly. Um, UM volleyball. UM volleyball. I mean, they've beaten number one team in the country. Obviously, they recently lost, unfortunately, to number four Louisville here at home in Coral Gables. But shout out to the volleyball girls. It's honestly a great. It's one obviously a smaller team, typical to kind of like a size of a basketball team, but from Milana Moisio and Alanis Vieira, trying to think, Ariana Rodriguez, Neilani
Neilani,
Piano,
yeah.
Grace
Flor Maria
Lopez.
Colon, yeah. I
Yep,
mean,
yep, and
our
then
team's loaded.
yeah, Ava Carney, and then for my hometown, the one who makes me the proudest, because when you go in there, it's in Solana Beach, California, and that's where I'm from. Friends with some of my good friends from high school. Sienna Sabota, freshman this year.
Yeah,
It just makes me proud because you don't go on to very many college athletics websites ever and see Solana Beach, California. I was one of the only ones that I knew. Um, when I was still playing in college, that it was really a source of pride for me because obviously I'm proud of where I grew up, where I come from. But um, three wins out of their last four. I mean, recently made the trek. This weekend, just swept Boston College today and
yep.
swept Syracuse. Women's soccer is going to make that trek. We'll talk about that next. But yeah, good little road trip there. And then they go to Duke, and then
And then UNC.
yeah, and then UNC. Very confusing. They didn't update. It doesn't. It says versus UNC, but it's in Chapel Hill, of course.
Yeah,
So
no, that
they
it's all
continue on
right.
the road, but little bit of some tougher games before the California teams come and visit. Um, but I mean, they're 13-6. They're doing
Mm-hmm.
well. I mean, they've had some big time wins, of course. They want their record in conference to be better, but they certainly fixed it going 500 in conference by sweeping, their weekend
Hmm.
obligations in New York and Massachusetts. So good on them. They've been good um, away from home, 5-3. I mean, women's soccer that now we'll get into it. They're looking for their first ACC win, but their first win on the road in a long time. Um,
Hmm.
spanning over 2 seasons. So, the team's been doing well. It's funny because we had on WVM, we interviewed graduate student Kyla Gallagher, who was honored
Hmm.
with her second senior night, kind of back to back after coming from Providence. And it was a game where we actually talked to head coach Ken Masur. Of course, we mentioned you've talked to him a lot, but we talked to him just an hour and change, before pregame and everything, and he kind of told us like, um, this is a game that we want to get a result out of it. And even though a 0-0 tie, second one that I've called back to back after calling Virginia Tech, and probably the last home game I'll call potentially. Um, it was good just to see the team get a result, but uh
Yeah.
Kylie Gallagher, when she came on, she was like, we feel great about this win, and then she was like, no, no, sorry, the tie. But it did feel like a win for a lot of players on Miami. Obviously,
Hmm.
you're always split as a team in terms of kind of what your objective is when you go into a game and sort of how it develops. But um, I know you tune in all the time, and you're always you will be a lifelong WVUM supporter, and um, so from the outside, and seeing a different Miami,
Hmm.
your previous 4 years when it came to soccer, what have the differences been for you? Because I can say I noticed a difference, but I never really got to see the team up close in Sarah Barnes era, so I can't
Yeah.
opinion in that way.
I would say this is the most competitive a Miami team has looked in a long time. They're always in games. They're never out. I mean, we've mentioned it back when they took on number two UVA in Cobb Stadium. They were in that game until about the 80th minute or 75th minute, and then UVA just
Yeah,
took charge late. I loved what Coach Mercer had to say when I got the chance to speak to him back in April. And I've mentioned this before. He said that they are going to compete, and
they
they're going
have
to compete for championships.
absolutely have.
He knew that they weren't going to win like 6, 7 games of the season right away. I mean, it's a completely new system. It's an entirely new coaching staff. Coming over from Vanderbilt, it's a plethora of transfer players.
I think they
Transfer
potentially
seniors
could
and
win
grad
six
students.
games if they sweep the weekend, just like volleyball did, first going to Syracuse and then going to Boston College. They have a chance. They do have a chance. I mean, Boston College will be a tough game, but especially after
Hmm.
how they played Pitt. I know it's a little bit different on the road, of course, versus playing at home. I mean, the team has just looked really, really good at Cobb Stadium. I think going forward.
Hmm.
Um, Having that sort of home field advantage is going to be key because when you come to Miami for the weather, I mean it was really windy, but you just never know what you're going to get in South Florida. But it'll be
Right.
interesting to see if they do get those 6 wins.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is that you get a point. Like, yeah, it's not the result that you wanted. I mean, it's a 0-0 draw, but a draw is a draw, and a point is a point, and it
Yeah,
helped your case in the ACC standings to kind of give yourselves a shot in the ACC tournament potentially. It all depends on what lies ahead, and you know, I think this team is going to be very well set for the next couple of years, especially with the way that Giovanna Canali is playing. I mean, she is just ridiculous. How many goals has she scored this year? Like what, 7, 8
eight,
or
eight.
something?
She's number 9 is waiting for her ninth. And
Ridiculous.
I just hope when she does. I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, I would have this pre-planned ahead of time, but you got to say on the goal call, number 9 for number 9. I mean, it's right there. It's literally like, here you go.
Yeah, you
Here's
could
the
say it.
line. Read it. I don't think that's what will be said. Um, whoa. I think Nicholas Whaley will be on. I wonder. One of my friends, he's friends with some of my friends at um at Syracuse, and he's a sports
Hmm.
bro. He does games for ACC Network and especially ACC Network Extra. Kind of a soccer first guy, if you will, British guy. And I think he might be doing
Cheerio.
the game. So it'll be interesting. It's always interesting to hear the difference between that
Yeah.
and my style that's very international Latin based. It's
Yeah.
very different from the
If I was calling that
astonishing,
game, yeah, yeah.
astonishing finish.
If I was calling that game, only scored her ninth, I would probably say something like, "And in her debut campaign, Miami's number nine has her ninth quality strike that finds the back of the net. It's 1-0 to the Canes," or something like that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
I just thought of that off the dome. I just have a broadcaster's mind, I guess.
I guess.
I've gotten
I
to work with
guess.
you in the past, and it was absolutely fun. But the fact that we never got to actually broadcast the game together was just quite the. It was the.
It will
It
happen,
was the
Mike.
sham of the century. It was the
It will
sham of the century.
it will happen. It will happen. I mean, if because when we kind of solidified the idea to do the podcast, I was kind of like, you know
Oh
what,
yeah,
there's other things that we haven't done yet that we will do. So don't hold your breath, but I think it will happen. But yeah,
yeah, man.
it will
When that
be.
day comes, the world won't be ready for it. But that call would cook. That call would cook.
Yes, yes, it would. And just to close out with some more football, the Prem. The only thing that
Oh
matters this weekend for me, the only thing that matters this weekend for me, Everton W. We're out of the relegation zone. We're starting to see the light. I mean, man, it was a rough start. Oh my goodness, it was a rough start. We blew 2-0 leads back to back. I mean,
yeah, I have
yikes.
the points table here. Give me just 1 second. Got
Pulling
the
up.
points table here. Hold on, hold please. Wait. Where the heck did I put it? Okay, yeah. Alrighty. So through the first 7 match weeks of the season, I've got the points table right here. Oh, okay, that's definitely coming out blurry, but whatever. I've got. Oh wait, it was kind of working out. Okay, whatever. But I've got the points table right here. Through the first 7 match weeks of the season, you guys were 16th in the table, and you had played 7 games, picked up a win in one, drawn two, and lost four. You had scored 7 goals, but you had conceded 15, and you had totaled 5 points.
15
My
goals.
club,
Dude, our
my,
defense sucks, dude.
my club, on the other hand, Arsenal, we were sitting third in the
Hey,
table.
nice game versus Bournemouth, buddy. Nice defense. Nice. Good job by Saliba. Great discipline by Arsenal players.
Hey,
Excellent.
I'm holding up a finger. Take which guess it is. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyway, through
Anytime.
7 match weeks, my club was sitting seventh in the table, or no, not seventh in the table, third in the table. Through 7 games, they had won five, drawn two, not lost any, scored 15, conceded six, and had 17 points. They were
Can you
sitting just
blame me? I'm sorry. Is it
one.
raining? Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
fine. You're fine. They had 17 points and were trailing Liverpool by just one. But yeah, a 2-0 loss away at Bournemouth is just pitiful. What is Mikel Arteta doing? It's it's crazy, but Premier League has been good this year. It's wide open essentially. Um, Liverpool and Man City will stay at the top thanks to their wins this weekend. Liverpool taking a 2-1 victory home to Chelsea earlier today, same as Man City taking a 2-1 win away at Wolves. Um, I think it's going to come down to Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah.
As long as
Listen,
Arsenal just get a Champions League position, I will be content with that.
to compare the Prem to Kane's football, as ridiculous as it may seem, the thing I do see with the Prem, and it's actually different from like the ACC and certain conferences. Um, People talk about, oh, it's the best league in the world, it's so competitive, this and that. I mean, in a sense, yes, the games, anything
Yes.
can happen. I mean, Wolves today was under heavy pressure from Man City first 5 minutes, and then one counterattack, absolute beauty of a cross to Nelson Semedo. to Thord Larson. And Wolves is 1-0 up after 7 minutes. Pep Guardiola's like this on the bench. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't know what to do. Um, but I mean, it took until the very, very end for Man City to score a winner off the corner. But uh, the crazy part is that it's become that way. It's Man
Hmm.
City and Arsenal. It's Liverpool and Man City. It's just like the top six can still be competitive, but the idea that anybody can sort of fight for a title and people say, "Oh, Leicester City won," it was like that was an
Yeah,
exception
that was
1 year.
that was
And
like 6 years ago. Let it
and
go.
it's like other than that, I mean, it really is Man City, Liverpool, and only as of recently a little bit of Arsenal. But
Yeah, like we finished second in the table last year at the end of last season.
yeah, so it's
And
like
it's been that way the last couple of years.
but I mean that's the way like I just see it moving forward. Like eventually it's just like the margins are so fine in the Prem. That one loss by Arsenal against Bournemouth could very well haunt them, as we go later in the season. Sorry, Mike, but you guys just don't have what it takes to be
How
Premier
how
League
did we
champions.
concede twice at Bournemouth?
Dude, I don't
We
know
could
what Saliba was
oh
thinking because
God.
I still think Ben White is getting there on the coverage. I mean, I don't
And
really think,
then and then
but
Saliba ended up getting a somebody
no,
ended
that's
up
what I
getting a
mean. That's
red
what I mean.
card.
Like, I
So
don't
we
know
were
what he
playing
was
with
doing
10 men.
defending there, but anyway, I think that's a good point to wrap it up because before we fall into the deep depression of being a Premier League fan, which trust me, I'm an Everton fan. I've been there a lot. Um,
Yeah.
that's the October edition of Muelendez Monthly. Um, we thank you guys as always for watching, for tuning in. We'll have it up as always as soon as we can. So thank you again. Um, always for your support. And we try to cover as much as we can. Once we get to November, we'll be able to talk about the World Series. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. The NFL will continue. We'll start to get closer to the holiday season in the Premier League, and then we'll see postseason for volleyball. We'll start getting closer to the end of the season for Canes football, and for Canes football, we'll see where their season is at that point. Um, so hopefully, all good news moving forward.
And you're
For
forgetting one. You're forgetting Kane's men's and women's hoops. It's almost hoop season.
It's almost hoop season. Funny enough, in 445, Jasmine Roberts is in my 445 group. Um,
Yeah, shout
you
out
know,
to News Vision
shout out to News Vision. Shout out to the boy Trevor Green,
and
absolute
Professor
legend.
Treadwell.
Oh,
Andres, where
dude,
is your package? Where is your package? Why is it not in the server?
I can't laugh. I can't laugh. I can't. Oh my goodness,
That's
Mike.
that's a running gag that Klein had with all of us because he had been on News Vision before and that he was on News Vision and then we were all in 4445 and 517 and he would always do that and that's a running gag that we had. He's like, "What is your package? Why is it not in the server? Why is everything broken?" Every time he did that, it was like he sounded like Doctor Doofenshmirtz. Where it's like, "What is your package? Why is it not in the server? Where is Patty the Platypus?"
Dude, I love it, dude.
But
You know,
man, no,
you know
tonight
what?
was a fun episode.
You know what killed me? What killed me was seeing Peter John Falloon, the kind of sort of, one of the assistants for Ken Masur, but the Jamaican on the staff. And if there's something that makes me crack up is hearing Jamaicans say gals. It just cracks me up. It's like, hey gals, we gotta run from one cone to the other cone. You get me? And I was cracking up. I was like,
Oh my
gals, let's
gosh.
warm up. Dude, it was
Uh,
it was it was killing me, man.
oh
So
man, that that
some
is
some impressions
that
from
is
around the
fun.
world, from different regions, to close
There
out
you go.
the
There you
October
go.
edition.
Oh man, tonight was a fun episode, but yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and find us on all of our socials, at Michael underscore Muela Sports, at Muela Media for all of my WVUM and Sports Desk kind of highlights. AJ, you can find him on Instagram, El Maestro Media, obviously, and your main account, which go ahead and tell the people where you can find us, and let's sign off.
Yep, that will do it from us here. October, um, crazy. I feel like October just started, but it's close to being done. We're almost to November, so more content on the way as always. So we'll see you on the next episode.
So long, everybody.